So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and time for another rambles from me on what's been going on in the world of tanks. Must find a better way of saying that. So what's coming up? Was another. We know how we love them. Another developers Q&A, which actually this time gives you some interesting stats in it. A new premium tier 8 tank, and you know what? It's not Russian. It's French. So we'll take a look at the Samur. There's also a look at the new ranked battles and looking at the new patch coming up 9.2.2.0 or 920 whatever, the dot one patch that's coming in, and when we might expect that. So anyway, let's dive straight in. So wouldn't be an edition of Rambles without a Q&A of some sort. So this was reported on the Armored Patrol blog, American blog on World of Tanks and World of Warships, and they reproduced a Q&A that happened over the previous weekend, I believe, at Tank Day in Belarus. And it's an interesting one. There's some interesting bits here. There are now apparently 2 million Belarusians playing World of Tanks, and they're one of the most active nations are the Poles. Now we know that because you just look at the number of poodles that were sold, and I think that's why the next tech tree will be Polish, is because there are so many Poles playing this game. There are more of them than even the Belarusians, so 2.9 million Poles are playing the game versus 2 million Belarusians. Apparently Chinese are flocking to the game. They must have huge wallets, just judging by the price of some of their premium tanks. And Germans are like to collect the tanks, and they're the ones with the most rare tanks. Okay, interesting. Special crews are planned. And they're even thinking about a special Belarusian crew. Well, if you've got 2 million Belarusian players in the game, I think you can pretty well guarantee that there will be something to pander to that audience. Preparations are underway to post a tournament for people over the age of 30 to 40. Does that mean us old crusties will get something to play in? Will they give us a Zimmer frame to our desks? A load of bullshit. If we're good enough to play in a tournament, you should play in a tournament, for goodness sake. Stupid. It's like, this positive discrimination bullshit. Best person for the job should get the job, irrespective of colour, creed, sex, orientation, anything like that. So why the hell do you have to have a separate tournament for people? Old farts. Screw you, Wargaming. Tank trading was supposed to launch with the game 7 years ago, and it's one of the biggest innovations it's one of the biggest innovations which appeared up till now. Well, it hasn't appeared, so how can it be appeared up till now? So this was the idea, and they talked about, I remember talking about this about a year ago now, the idea that there would be some way to trade in tanks that you don't want anymore. I mean, premium tanks here. So you would get a certain amount of the value of another tank that is up for sale. So if you're fed up with the RS6, you'd get something like, and I can't remember the exact numbers, you'll have to look them up yourselves, but say 2/3 of the actual cash came to you, the other third went to basically went back to World of Tanks to reinvest. And the idea was that you could swap that for, I don't know, half, whatever the equivalent price was in gold for a premium tank, and I think it's a good idea. I can see a lot of people selling their tanks in error, or when they've had a few sherbets too many in the evening, but that'll always happen. But I think it's a good thing to have. User interface changes are planned, ranging from new additions to restructuring the old ones. Personal mission OI isn't perfect and will be fixed. Okay, the HD maps will be sandboxed very soon, so that's good. Clan wars are treated seriously. Errors will be rectified. I don't know what that's reference to. I haven't played Clan Wars, much to my chagrin. I would like to play Clan Wars, but I'm never on at the time when it happens. Don't know what errors were, but they're being treated seriously, so that's all good, isn't it? unfinished things and modes stopped being implemented. Now the implementation of new content is much more thorough. So basically they're going to put more professionalism. So they take all this money off us. They're actually going to test things properly. Well, that's good to know. Will there be a 10th nation? For sure the Italians will be implemented because they fought and they used their own vehicles, which is a good criteria for World of Tanks. Did they fight? Yes. Did they have good variation of tanks largely produced by themselves? Yes, tick. Good. So Italians are coming, and I'm pleased about that because I like the idea of the Italians. Anti-tank guided missile vehicles probably won't be implemented as regular tanks, but more likely as special event vehicles. That's good, because I saw a lot of people who understand this technology more than I do. The idea of an anti-tank guided missile, it would just cut through anything in the game. Doesn't matter what the armor is, without really any problem at all. And the idea was that some way of limiting that, because in realities those sort of missiles were limited effectiveness via sort of the reactive armor and that sort of thing, which would set off the charge before it had full effect, and therefore they wouldn't have to have massive thick armor. They could have these active countermeasures and active armor that would defeat wide-guided missiles and other rounds as well, without needing to pack on all the armor. So that's good. The balance department has undergone some personal changes, especially at the higher echelons. Is that clearing the house because of all the screw-ups with the balancing and people moaning about it? I wonder. It's really hard to rebalance old premium tanks. If you can touch anything, there'll be a ruckus. The biggest drama queens being the EU server. Yeah, well, there you go. We wait for the moment where when we can change the KV5. It's a tank which rebalance we regularly postpone. Why not bring it out and improve it? So basically what they've said, and I don't know whether this is in here, I read it somewhere else, that if they can't find a way to get the rebalancing right of old premiums, they may well instigate a return process so that you can flog your non-competitive premium tank back to World of Tanks, and they'll give you some money for it. So that's what they're suggesting on another blog. I haven't got it here, but that's what I understand. Camo personalization is being worked on. It may make its debut on the sandbox. Players will be able to change color spots, spot sizes, and other things. Camo purchasization needs a lot of interfaces changes, and we'll be prototyping the 2D, and it looks really good. So there you go. The New Year's Eve event is New Year event. Is undergoing work, which is good because they're always fun. Those special modes. Was it last year we had the space balls? I think it was. Announcement and details of the new Caliber project will be given at this year's Tank Fest. WG Fest. Don't know anything about that. So. This is about the matchmaking, which even Wargaming begin to recognise is screwed. Some time ago, Surge, aka Serb, was confounded by introducing a Tier 1 spread in matchmaking. Now it's clear that introducing preferential matchmaking was a mistake. There are problems with some of these vehicles, but we're readying them for rebalance. Perhaps with some tanks it will be unfitting to rebalance, so we'll propose a buyback. There you go, that's what they're talking about. So there may be that some tanks they just can't fix to fit in with the new meta, so they'll just buy them back from us. Simples. Wheeled vehicles are a thing developers really want to introduce. Work on them is underway, especially in physics. There's a lot of historical wheeled vehicles reached up at tier 10, and they'll be introduced into the light branches. Okay. So you'll be able to use that. Possibility to hide the stats of nickname is very complicated. we're thinking about it, and maybe this was something to take into consideration when allowing mods. The only this will only happen when the client is shut down for mods or what's in progress. So interesting, very interesting. These Q&As are always kind of fun to hear what people are thinking of from the direction the game's going. Some come to fruition, some don't, but clearly there's a good few changes out there, so that's all good. So even Wargaming think we've had too many Russian premium tanks for the time being, so the next few off the starting blocks are likely to be Frenchies. So we've got the upcoming Canon de something or other, whatever it is, the tier 8 French tank destroyer premium at some point will appear. Now in Super Test they are trying a new French premium heavy tank. This is the Samua SM, another tier 8. It apparently existed, it's been in production or been tested for over a year, I believe, and it's made a reappearance this time. Its armour's been increased, the gun has lost one shell, it does have an autoloader, and the gun stats changed for close range combat and mobility reduced, so to make it more different from the MX-50-100, and it kind of looks a bit different, sort of. What do you think? No, it doesn't really at all, does it? No, it doesn't at all. We don't believe you, Wargaming. It doesn't look different at all, but it does have armour. So you can see here, it does have a little bit of armour. Let's have a look at some of the stats. It's a tier 8 heavy, as I said, 1450 hit points, 100mm auto-loading gun, firing standard AP shell, 232 penetration, and only 263 with APCR. That's not much of an increase. 11 increase. No, what am I talking about? Oh, damn your masses. 31 increase. That's actually not much. Most of the sort of premium rounds tend to have a considerably higher pen. Only 50 with HE. Not worth it because you only get 400 compared to 300 with the other rounds. So 300 damage average with the APCR and the AP round. Magazine reloads in just shy of 36 seconds, and reload of each shell is 2.25 seconds. Magazine is 5 rounds, giving us 6.671 rounds per minute, and a DPM of just about 2,000. Aim time is 2.3, which is not great. Accuracy of 0.38 is nothing special either. Gun depression of -10, however, is very good. And hull and turret traverse of 32 and 27 degrees per second respectively is very good. Top speed 45 and 20 in reverse is nothing special, but it is a heavy after all. Hull armor 140, 90 and 70. Turret 120, 60, 60. So that's quite a good plate, that, by the look of it, and it does look quite well angled. So secret is just shoot it in the head. When in doubt, shoot it in the head. 120mm of armour on the front of the turret is crap, frankly, at this level. It's 56 tons, 700 horsepower engine with a 12.5 power ratio, which is pretty reasonable for a heavy tank. Concealment is no, forget it. And view range 370 is actually pretty good. So yeah, interesting little heavy this, or big heavy. Is it really that dissimilar from the MX-50-100 or 50-120, or even of the Lorraine, the tier 8 premium medium tank? I know that has no armour, but the shell profiles and the gun profiles are pretty similar. So anyway, it's in super test. All those stats are subject to change, so don't get too excited about them or too depressed about them, whatever you want. So yeah, we don't know when this will appear, but it will do soon. And looking at Wargaming's propensity for chucking out premium tanks at us at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if this one's far behind. What do you think about the premium factory at the moment? I mean, I don't know how many we've had this year, but a lot. I didn't buy the SDG Guard or whatever it's called. mainly because I can't afford to, and B, there's just been so many premiums. It just is just grinding me down, and I think it makes me wonder. How many people. I know the collectors will try and buy each tank as it comes along, but even their patience must begin to wear out, and it does make me wonder how much this isn't actually helping wargaming. If you release a good premium every so often, people will buy it. If you're releasing a reasonable premium every month, people just say, you know what, there's nothing here, nothing for me. I mean, this Samoa doesn't really look that different from the AMX on the tech tree, so really you're going to dip your hand in your pocket? And I know for all the furore around the Defender and the Chrysler to a degree, although I still maintain that's not a great tank, but the Defender particularly and the what have you, these tanks are good tanks, and if you're spending your hard-earned change on them, surely they should be good tanks. Now, maybe not better than the standard ones on the tech tree, that's fair enough, but they should be good, and I do not hold with this idea that premium tanks should be shit in some way. Why? You're spending your hard-earned cash to buy these things, and you wouldn't walk into a shop and buy a second-rate product just because you felt sorry for the guy down the road who couldn't afford one. You buy the best you can afford, and yeah, so this idea that they have to be crap just doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, let me know what you think about this propagation of premiums at the moment. I mean, it just seems like every game you go into, half the team or more is premium now. Good business model for wargaming. Is it sustainable for the game? I don't know. So we've only just digested the patch 9.20, and 9.20.1 is around the corner. So Armored Patrol is talking about the next patch. These are Russian service timelines, but I guess it won't be that dissimilar for EU and North America. I'm afraid Asia you'll probably still be about 6 months behind, because you poor buggers seem to suffer like that. So they're reporting that 13th to 14th of September will be the official patch review, and the super test will commence on the 14th of September. They will try the beta of the second season of ranked battles on the 18th of September, and the first public test, so first test server, will go up on the 21st of September, which isn't very far away at all. Also, the second test, so any refinements, will then go up on the 5th. Oh God, I can't read. The 5th of October, and then the planned release of the whole patch will be middle of October, presumably subject to how these test servers go. Big news on this account is the changes to light tanks that we talked about, so increase in some of the firepower of Sheridan, the T100, the AMX-13, but the actual slight nerfing of the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen in terms of its firepower. The Hype 59 gets a boost, and then all the changes to the British tanks. I know everyone's been waiting for these. So the Centurions will get better armour, etc, etc. So that's all cool. Now the biggest change that is coming through these, and that is the swapping out of the FV215B. So this was something we speculated a couple of rambles ago, and it seems to have been confirmed. At least this was information that I believe went up on the Southeast Asian server. Yeah, source what Asia, there you go. So the plan is much like they've done with the Foch and the Foch B. They will remove the FV215B and replace it with a new Super Conqueror at tier 10 on the British heavy tank line. Those who have researched and purchased, both conditions have to be met, the FV215B, and it is still in your garage when the patch goes live, you will be given the Super Conqueror for free, and the FV215B will be retained as a sort of premium vehicle. The crew will be retrained to the Super Conqueror, and any experience will be transferred from the FV to the Super Conqueror. Also, any camouflage emblems, etc., will also move over, and etc., etc. Any badges of excellence, mastery badges, etc., will remain on the FV, and any additional equipment will be sent to the depot. So it's a special tier 10 premium basically coming into the game. So you probably have about a month or so. So if you're desperate to get a free tier 10, you need to grind like crazy through the British heavy tank line. So I fully expect for the next couple of weeks to see lots of Conquerors, lots of Centurions, not Centurions, what's the names? Basically the British heavy tank line will be in abundance on the test on all the servers, to be honest, moving forward. I imagine, as everyone tries to grind through to get to this free tier 10. I might have a go myself. I'm at tier 10. I wish I was at tier 10. No, I'm at tier 8. I don't know whether I've got the will to grind British tanks for a month solidly, because it would have to be to get to it, but I don't know. Might have a go. See how it goes. Anyway, if you've got that, you're sitting pretty. If you're not, then you may just wonder what all the fuss is about. It does, on the stats anyway, look like the Super Conqueror is a very, very capable heavy tank, whereas I think the FV, by all accounts, is a little bit acquired taste, shall we say. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So get ready with all your premium ammo, because Ranked Battles is back as of the 18th of September, which is what, Monday? Yeah, Monday. You will be able to take out your tier 10s in a 15v15 Ranked Battles mode. I've hated it, frankly, as you can probably guess by my cynicism about this. Just everybody either sits at the back and goal hangs, or they fire gold solidly through it, because it's really an arena for the ego warriors, stat twats, who all they care about is getting their names in light and their stats. But anyway, the second round is happening. There are some modifications on it, so primarily around the chevrons. So you used to get them, I think, if I remember rightly, that win or lose you got them. Now there's definitely a much more ranking on winning, so you only get them if your team wins and you're in the top 10 by number of XP earned, and if you're in the bottom 5 of the winning team, or in the top 5 of a losing team, you'll at least get some chevrons. So those on the losing team who don't make it into the top 5 will get nada, nothing at all. So that's the graph they're working at. So the top 10 gets the most, and then the bottom 5 on the winning team and the top 5 on the losing team get something, and then the bottom lot get nothing at all. So the aim is to stop what was happening, because the top 5 on the losing team were getting so much themselves, that what was happening was the teams were just basically sitting at the base, at the back of the map, and just spamming gold as much as they possibly can, because they knew that win or lose they'd be in the top 5, and therefore they got a load of chevrons. Now hopefully this will encourage people to actually come out and fight. They'll still spam gold, but at least they'll come out and fight, so that's got to be a good thing, right? So as ever, it will be a period of time. When's the time scales? I can't say it. Anyway, whatever. It'll be a limited period of time. There's multiple maps being featured, which is good, and it will be a limited time slots during the day, so that to encourage people not just to sit on there 24/7. So need of resources to purchase more vehicles for your tier 10. So basically they're also encouraging you to buy lots of gold, because you're going to need all the premium ammunition. So GG Wargaming, you can't say they're not thinking about this joined up. So you'll be able to buy special gold bundles and credit bundles, veteran bundles. Oh geez. Anyway, there you go. If you're into ranked battles, You're lucky. 18th of September, season 2 on its way. I guess the only good thing about it is it's a way to guarantee earning lots of bonds, so you get that OP equipment. So, GG, all good. So, in a kind of reverse Brexit, it appears that there's a number of North American players trying to move across to the EU server. I guess that's due to the lack of numbers on the North American server, although with the merging of the servers, one would hope that things would improve in that sense. But anyway, there appears to be some confusion between North America and the EU. Anybody's requested to move their accounts over. I didn't even know you could, but to move your accounts over from North America to the EU, they're running into a bit of a roadblock in that the EU don't seem to be cooperating and aren't actually moving the accounts across. So yeah, not so good, not so clever. Once again, the EU shows what a load of useless bar stewards they are. North American team, everything I see, and I have no inside track on this because obviously I don't speak to them, I'm just like you guys. North American teams seem a lot more switched on. I just wish they were on the EU server, but they're not. They're over there in North America, which is a shame. But I don't know whether I know I've got quite a lot of North American viewers. Anybody considered moving their accounts over? If so, how have you gone about it? Have you had this problem as well? Let me know down in comments below. So it also looks like World of Tanks is looking into amending the sort of stats that you have on your various tanks and your overall performance stats. So introducing what they're calling the Hall of Fame into a beta test at the moment. So the concept behind this, that any battles, even random battles, will count towards your sort of classification with the individual tanks. So you'll have an overall classification which takes into account all vehicles on your account and those you've owned, and then individual ones for the actual vehicles. So you've got it here, this example. You can see there's quite a bit of a variation between how this guy or woman has played these tanks, and so he's got everything from 5,870 down to 4,155. So that's an interesting thing if that's your thing. Now the classifications are using 5 main criteria, so survivability, damage blocked, assists and frags. But what they're saying is that each of the individual vehicles will have its own weight depending on the different categories. So for instance, you wouldn't expect a Batchat to block much, although I have to say they really do from time to time in my experience. But anyway, so that would be less of an issue for a Batchat, whereas for a mouse it is more of an issue. So they'll weight it according to the type of vehicle and how they perform on the battlefield and their role, if you like, on the battlefield, which is kind of interesting. I have to say I don't give a monkeys about this, but I know some people do and care very, very passionately about their stats, and we know what we call them, don't we, children? Stat twats. Anyway, this will be tested fairly soon. I think it's coming in the next update. There'll be a test of it, so we'll see what happens. See whether what kind of difference it makes. So I think broadly I agree with it. I mean, it would be nice that if they can do this in terms of weighting on performance, they could do weighting on matchmaking maybe, so that people who are very, very good statistically with the tank would be put up against other players who are very, very good in that tank, rather than what tends to happen, where you get one team that's just full of super unicorns, the other team's full of scrubs. Balance it out a bit, so there's a few unicums on each side. That would be a novelty, and maybe this will allow them to do that. I don't know, but what do you think? You looking forward to seeing your stats and being in the Hall of Fame, or just really couldn't give a toss like me? Let me know down below. So there you go, that's Rambles done for another week. I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody who is commenting on my videos. It really, really makes me feel good. I have to say, I didn't realise when I started up doing the channel how much I'd enjoy the interaction with people. Not that I'm boring old git that doesn't want to talk to anybody, but I'm a boring old git that doesn't want to talk to anybody. But actually I've really enjoyed having an interaction with you guys, and it made me laugh the other day. I even had one of those comments where somebody put first in the comments, which I always associated with the really big YouTubers and not the little scrubs like me, so it made me chuckle, so I appreciate that. Whoever that was, I forget the name now, apologies. But please keep up the comments. It really is genuinely much appreciated. I did this channel purely because I thought I'd fancied having a go at it, really. Not any expectations to get anywhere, and we're 800 plus subscribers, which is fantastic. I'd love to crack the 1,000 before the end of the year. Then I'd feel very, very satisfied with myself, but we'll see what we can do. But anyway, if you're new around here, please do click the subscribe button. It's free, it's easy. And if you enjoyed this, just click like. If you didn't, click dislike. I don't mind, it's just interesting, but at least put down the comments of why you didn't like it. And keep the comments coming. It's really good to speak to you guys, really appreciate it. And as ever, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously. It is just a damn game after all. And I will see you again soon. This is Gamer Dom, signing out.